I used to use art as a form of escapism. When things would get rough around the house, I would go into my room and just start drawing because I was really looking for acceptance. I was looking for validation. Where do you want to end up? What is it that you want to do?
Welcome to Catch the Moment podcast. I am your host, David Tyree.
It is caught by Tyree. That's a great catch by David Tyree. Oh my God. This ball's thrown and Tyree just goes up for it like a basketball player.
Welcome to Catch the Moment podcast. It's your host, David Tyree. Hope y'all back for another exciting episode. This is where you come to get great done. This is where we come to master the plan, the process, and the recipe. Get you on your journey, overcome them hurdles and pain points. Anytime you're trying to reach the end zone, you better believe it's going to be opposition. So this is where you get the sauce to figure this thing out. So today, man, this is a long time coming. Good friend. We cut from the same cloth.
It's true.
Cut from the same cloth. Want to welcome my good friend Alexzander Billups. What's good, brother?
How's it going, man? I'm doing pretty good.
Woo, yeah, boy, you good.
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Well,
I'm doing pretty good.
It's always good having, some familiarity. But this is just more of a formality anytime we have a guest. Since we definitely have vested relationship. Tell me where you were when you saw the helmet catch. First time ever, if you can recall it. I know you ain't deep into sports. We're going to get into some of your background, but first time you ever saw it, had a thought of it, memory, story, whatever you got.
You know what? I'm not too big into like sports. I wasn't really following sports, but I couldn't escape it. Everybody was talking about it. This dude, he caught it with his head. This guy, David, they said Tyree caught it with his head.
Yeah.
So I was hearing it. And then I think the first time I saw it on the newspaper.
Okay.
And I saw the epic picture of you holding the ball with the thing in your head. And
yeah.
And then a couple years later, here we are.
So that was actually a couple years before we linked up.
Actually
a couple years before, or
no, when you actually did it, the whole world was talking about it.
Yeah. But you really didn't come into it until later?
No. I didn't. Literally, I was.
So you was just completely off the radar. Now, I know you was lost with Christ. I know you was lost in God.
That's the truth. That's the truth. The thing is, it was so resounding. Everywhere I turned, people was like, they wasn't talking about the Super Bowl. They would say, did you see that catch? Did you see that catch? So it got on my radar. I'm like, oh, okay. I ended up, I think, glancing across the newspaper. I see this thing. You can see the clips if you check it out. Yeah. And I just saw this amazing thing happen. And I'm like, man, that looked real.
I love it. Appreciate it. Listen, man, we all get attention for different reasons, man. Now, yourself, Alex, you got artist, educator, yes, sir, administrator, man, raising up a beautiful family, two daughters, but I know you're passionate about Christ, passionate about your faith. Hopefully we'll get into all of that, but I really want to highlight some of your journeys. But man, I know you to been like, man, you kind of got one of those Bane scenarios. Like, man, you were born in the shadows,
It's true.
So, but before I get too deep into it, you have had some major successes. You're somebody that I admire as a professional. Always tell, when I met this dude, I'm like, man, he dressed like a grown man. You see, I'm like, I go to work, I'm over here in sweats and Giants gear and sweatpants, sneakers. I catch up with this guy. He got the nice blazers, shoes. I'm like, dang, this dude is a grown man. So I'm like, mad respect to this dude, man.
I appreciate it, man.
So, but for you, and this could be personal or professional, at this stage in your life, what would you say has been your defining moment?
Wow, that's a good question.
I'm getting straight to it today.
At this stage in my life,
you've endured some things, like I said, and you can go both one way, whatever. We here getting into it.
That thing is loaded. But I guess if I'm I would just say probably coming out of the health crisis that I just had.
Yeah.
Coming out of it.
Yeah.
The fact that I came out of it, that the same people like yourself, your lovely wife, were with me through it, my bride.
Yep.
We didn't know how it was going to turn out, and coming out on the other side.
Yeah.
It's literally like coming out of a cave and seeing the sun for the first time in years. You know, it's just, I think the thing that's shaped me so tremendously is just you can hear the birds chirping, and it's a blessing. The warmth of the sun is a blessing. You know, just the fact that your body's not aching, it's a blessing. Yeah. So just being able to enumerate blessings like that when I consider what I just came out of, it just makes every day a great day.
So in light of us leading there, and I know there's so much, and we're gonna bring you back for like the documentary version. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take it.
We're gonna bring you because this brother's life is loaded with gems, but you really endured something. We had the privilege of loving and serving you and walking in deep covenant relationship, and just believing God for this restoration. But talk about this health crisis, because when people talk about mental health, there's so many layers, right? Like it's like a spectrum. It's not like depression is a real thing, but a lot of times I think there's a segment of the mental health side of this conversation that's also thrust upon people to some extent. And I'm just saying that fairly because people have feelings with their feelings. But, you know, the human experience is really difficult and challenging. So let's unpack where you were to really champion this amazing, not just testimony, but brother, I mean, like your story of freedom, your story of liberty is going to help people go through. It was 3 years. Yeah. You know, who were you prior to? Yeah. And what you endured? Go ahead and give us.
So, name is Alexzander Billups. I've always been into education and art. That's been my forte. That's my area of expertise. You know, prior to all of this happening, you know, I really put a great emphasis on education. I still do. I have my undergrad from Montclair State University, got my master's from Concordia University. Yes. One day I might even go for doctorate. We'll see.
Let's see.
You know, but I got my undergrad in you know, art education, and then I got my grad in educational leadership, my master's degree.
Excellent.
So I ended up spending some years as an art teacher, and then I went into a school operations manager, and then from there I went to the department chairman for Arts High School.
Now let's talk. You got to give folk a little flavor of Arts High School. You know, this is Newark, New Jersey.
Fame. I want to live forever. Have you ever seen Fame?
Yeah.
It's a low level Fame.
Come on, bro.
So it's a phenomenal institution. Shout out Arts High Jaguars, green and gray.
Yeah.
So let me tell you,
that's this county in the building.
It's phenomenal, man. If you have any inclination towards the arts,
sure.
If you go to Arts High, it's a safe haven. It's a godsend.
Yeah.
So you know we got they have dancing. Sure. They have acting.
Big shout out to Kim Richardson, former dance teacher, my neighbor in Montclair, New Jersey.
So you got dancing, you got acting, you have TV production, you have the visual arts. That was my thing: drawing, painting, sculpting, all that. Yeah. You have singing, and you have music. You could play any musical instrument you want.
Tough.
So I ended up going to Arts High School as a young man.
Yep.
It was an amazing experience. Literally, it was just like I overheard somebody talking about Arts High. And then I said, it's a school for art? I gathered my little papers.
No, you from Newark, right? So East Orange, Newark, you got to understand the pedigree. Ain't too many brothers from our spot like, yo, I'm trying to go do some visual arts. This is the 90s, right?
This is true.
So you was definitely a different breed. And obviously, you know, Newark's a dynamic inner city, but we in there. So did you feel like, you know, and I know I want to get back to your story. I don't want to lose, but did you feel like, were you an anomaly, and how did it feel as a young man pursuing art in an unorthodox, because it's about sports, basketball, b-ball. You know, we a testosterone-driven generation, but you kind of understood your lane, your interests, and walked in it.
You know, when it comes to art, I had a couple of milestones that shaped me.
Okay.
But, you know, it's a couple of them. So growing up, I had it kind of rough. So you needed to make ends meet. Yeah. We'll put it like that. Yep. Once I found out that I could put pen to paper and make it increase in value, my mind was blown.
Wow. I hope everybody caught that right there. Because, you know, writing and even the art is powerful. Go keep
Listen,
going.
I would like, this paper cost me 3 cents.
Yeah.
But if I take some time and focus and I sketch you, I draw, I can increase its value exponentially. I'm like, man, I can make money with this gift.
Yeah.
So at first I was playing around with it. I was doodling around with it. And I showed my father some of the pictures I did. Now, shout out to Pops. You know, he passed away. But anyway, he saw one day and he gave me some tough love. And it was actually a blessing.
Really?
Yeah. So he saw some of my work one day and he said, here, take this picture of my mother and my father. I want you to draw it. It's like the summertime. I don't feel like drawing. I'm just, he like,
summer.
My father said,
put you to work.
My father wasn't no joke, man. So he said, take this picture. I'm like, okay, yes, sir, take the picture. He said, get in that room. He said, hone your craft. Don't come out until you finish. Wow. And my father was not the man you cross. So
straight like that.
I said,
big shout out to Walter.
we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the internet. So it's hot. I'm in this. What I'm going to do? The only way out is to draw. I got to draw my way out, David.
You got to draw your way out the room. I just want to go outside. Let me go.
So I drew. So what I did was I begrudgingly started drawing him and Han, but about 30, 40 minutes into it, you get locked in. You know, you get into that flow of it, and it becomes really therapeutic. Great.
Yeah.
So I finished the drawing. I bring it to my father, and I see satisfaction come over him.
Wow.
So when I saw that, you know, he gave me some other words to let me know, don't let it go by the wayside. I never forgot that.
It's powerful. That's powerful, man. The affirmation of a father is life-changing. But even the mission and receiving the mission and just kind of locking in on it, it's really amazingly intuitive. So you go this amazing trajectory that merges art with education. And by the time we link up, you're an administrator in Arts High, you're alumnus. And you're this interesting mix of a dynamic operational mind, but also an artist.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you know, when I mean, I'm like, man, this dude right here, he humming on a lot of different planes.
Yeah.
But pandemic comes around, which leads to this health crisis. Talk to us and frame this out in a few minutes as to what you endured, because I'm walking with you, but I need to hear it from your vantage point, and I can add a little color, because it was 3 years where I'm looking at someone who I knew to be one of the most dynamic men that I've met, integrous, loves God, you know, doing his best.
Yeah.
And but next thing you know, what we got?
Man, listen. So, you know, I'll try to frame it in a way that's just simple and something that people can follow along. You know, let's just say, you know, the height of 2020, 2019 was a pressure cooker for everybody.
Oh my goodness.
So, you know, I enter into this new position, and it was a phenomenal position. I was finding great success there, but it was demanding. You know, I had about around 20 teachers under my charge. You got to observe all the teachers. You got to, you know, run programs, meetings with parents, meetings with students, and you become the face of this great organization. You become one of the faces. I'm running the whole visual and performing arts department. So, you know, you could get a visit from anybody that's, you know, anything in the city of Newark at any time. And we would have that happen.
Sure.
So it was a great experience, but I started to think to myself, David, I said, you know what? I kind of want to build something for myself and for my family that'll last longer than just this experience.
Yeah.
I want to,
which is okay.
I want to build a business, something along those lines. So my wife is literally a financial genius. You know, thank God for my wife. She's a financial genius.
We're gonna get on Catch the Moment, no doubt.
And so she actually has been a great cheerleader for me. She would always say, you know, you're dynamic. You can do a lot of different things. If we work together, you know, we could really make this thing happen. So we tried a couple of ventures here and there, but this go around 2019, 2020, I'm like, you know what? This is it. I'm going to leave, you know, the public school system, and I'm going to go into finances with my wife, and we're going to make this thing happen.
Sure.
So I asked you, and I asked a couple of people who I love and trust, and they kind of said, you know, you could do anything. You know, just don't move in fear. That was your words. Just first of all, don't move in fear. And my wife saw how I guess nervous I was getting about it, and she said, we could kind of put the brakes on this thing,
sure,
give it a year, and then go into it.
Sure.
Forgive me for the pride, Lord. I'm like, no, we're gonna make this happen. I can do this.
There it is.
I can do this.
I can do it.
So I was committed. I put in my notice to my job, and we start burning through savings. Like, that's the truth. I'm like, and I would be up in the morning.
This is a nightmare for men, right?
I would be typing, and my wife and I have totally different dispositions. I am up at 5 o'clock, 5:30, militant, workout, coffee. I'm regimented.
Yep.
My wife is relaxed. She's like, but she could.
What are you doing?
She could do more in 3 hours than most people could do in 8. But I don't like the flow, so we're trying to, sing the same song, get the same cadence. I'm trying to learn a whole new industry.
Sure.
I'm trying not to worry about the depleting resources. And all of a sudden, my stomach, it goes like vacuum sealed. It feels like somebody vacuum sealed my stomach. I can't get food down. So I'm eating, the food sits here and it won't go down. And I'm like, I just keep working through it. It didn't feel life-threatening, but I'm like, okay, let me just work through this, because I've been conditioned by my father and my environment, power through.
Mow through.
So I'm doing this thing. I begin to call you guys. I call some other people. You guys gave me some strategies. I tried them. They weren't working. Okay, now I'm starting to panic.
Sure.
So I go to the doctor a couple of times. They're like, you got something, but we don't know what it is.
I don't know what's going on with you.
And it was like the height of COVID, so they were literally sending me home like Godspeed.
Yep.
Don't affect me.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and I'll kind of, so in a moment's eye, right? And I don't think, me, and I haven't really publicly shared as much of my mental health crisis, enduring psychosis in 2004. I've always been able to recognize indicators when somebody's moving in a particular direction that are early signs of, instability, anxiety, isolation, just having the experience makes me ultra sensitive to those sensitivities with mental health. Right. So I'm deeply compassionate about it. But next thing you know, brother, it's like we spiraled in 2020 and we lost you.
Yeah.
Like, it was like for lack of better terms, from my vantage point, you were a shell of the Alexzander Billups that I had known. Yeah. What was it like for you internally, existing but not being yourself?
Listen, man, let me tell you something. So the thing that really kicked it off, I know we have a wide range of people who are watching this show. Shout out to everybody, respect everybody's beliefs, but here's the reality. David, something hit me on the back of my head, on the back left side of my head, and that caused me to be dazed. I started gurgling up bile, stomach bile. And I literally could not control my body. Yeah. And so my wife runs me to the hospital. We go to the hospital. They sedate me. We'll keep it simple. They sedate me. And then when I wake up in the hospital, I feel like 2/3 of a man.
Sheesh.
A man has a body, a soul, and a spirit. The light of my spirit was extinguished. I was a soul, a phantom in my body. And we don't realize how powerful your spirit is. Your spirit is your energy, your life, it's your zest.
Yes.
When that goes out, you are just sloshing about. Man. I felt the weight of this flesh case, and it felt like I was 400 pounds in a wetsuit. Not only that, but when I would try to bring thoughts together coherently, I couldn't do it. Wow. It felt like they were kind of fleeting away from me. Yeah. In addition to that, I had such a strong, deep sense of timidity and fear. I felt like any moment would be my last moment. Man. And it was some other things that was happening. Here's one more thing.
Sure.
The sense of human connection is such a gift. It's such a gift from God. Wow. Human connection.
Yeah.
You know, we can touch without touching. We can, you know, you feel me? You get me? You understand? We're vibing.
Yeah.
When I was in a place where I did not have that, I couldn't feel the comfort of the human experience.
Yeah. Man, listen, it's so deep and intense and it's so layered. We're gonna I want to get into some of your journey.
That's fine.
Because not like this, but this is real. And I think what you shared, even in that, Alexzander, there's so many different layers. Like I said, I look at the mental health reality as a spectrum. And so whereas we can't diminish anyone's, you know, because emotions are a portion of the soul. But where we have emotional stability, there could be great fractures in our perception and understanding, right? So I'm not a mental health expert, but I certainly have a general gaze of these realities. And the moment that we can't sense properly, we can start drawing the wrong conclusions. And so we always want to be anchored in truth and anchored in reality. And none of us can be the individual determinant or the final judgment individually, even though things that we experience and see and perceive are true. So it's just so many layers to it that, number one, should exude compassion, but also number two, we don't want to foster, because now mental health is the number one topic of conversation. We don't want to foster the proposition of being weak-minded either. And that takes, as an athlete, I understand that it takes conditioning to cultivate strength, right? If you have a weak mind, you have to condition the mind to be stronger. And that means a sense of exercise and endurance. So even emotionally, we need some emotional endurance. So I think this is this massively layered conversation that we really don't often get a chance to get into, but you came out after 3 years. I knew you to be a high performing, dynamic, artistic administrator. You make curriculum. I mean, you out here writing books. What's the name of your book again? Go ahead.
The Kingdom That Was and Is to Come. How the gospel of the kingdom changes everything.
Boom. So this is who I know you to be. And now for almost 3 years, we're walking with you, sojourning through life, believing God for you to return, for you to be healed, for you to be well, for your home to be stable. And I get a chance to share this publicly. This is one of the greatest testimonies of my life. So, I mean, just as a brother, as someone who's got a chance to walk with you and believe God for your welfare, your life, your purpose, calling, and then your stability.
Yes, Lord.
Woo! We here, brother.
We here.
All right, everybody, this is David Tyree, your favorite Super Bowl champion. I want you to know something, public service announcement. If you're looking for some energizing salads, some protein-rich, delicious sandwiches and wraps, and our one-of-a-kind Super Bowls, I need y'all to come through 68 South Street in Morristown, Tyree's Table. Come through, get this love, because there's room for everybody at the table. We want you to understand that this is the intersection of health, culinary creativity. We got it going on, y'all. But even more so, this is the place where communities come together. So see us at Tyree's Table. We'll get great done together. All right, so talk to me about what were the early influences for you artistically? Because this is the creative generation today, right? Okay. And like how do you foster that, knowing that there's a sense of sobriety, right? Because creatives can go, right? It can go so many different ways. So what were your early influences and what helped you to really like lean in on visual art?
Okay. So, my early influences was comics. We grew up in the 90s. Comics, cartoons.
Give a couple, because most folks don't know about
X-Men.
Come on.
So the Marvel Universe, before it was even, the movie sensations that it is.
Correct.
We used to love the X-Men. But, we grew up with all the old cats. Quicksilver, He-Man, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So it was looking at early American, cartoon work and art. Sure. I used to love it. You know what I mean? If we wasn't outside playing Manhunt, playing tag, doing something.
Y'all know nothing about that. Y'all know about Manhunt, baby.
If we wasn't outside doing something like that, I'm in the house, just drawing.
Sketching away.
And, the crazy thing is having a really tough upbringing, I used to use art as a form of escapism. Now, not all, I would say escapism can have a negative connotation.
Okay.
Because the idea of escapism is, you're abdicating good responsibilities.
Got you.
We're not talking about that.
Excellent.
What we're talking about is having the gift of being able to let your imagination soar.
Ooh, come on, man.
With being able to go somewhere in your mind when you actually can't physically go there.
That's a beautiful thing.
Due to, some people are in dire straits. They can't.
Financial limitations.
Right.
It could be physical limitations.
Right.
But there's the creativity and imagination that God would give his people.
Exactly.
People to just be able to create.
Man, you pick up a good book, you read a good poem, you engage in some artistic endeavor where you get locked in, you get into flow. Man, you just you were there for a minute.
It's good.
So when things would get rough around the house, I mean really rough, I would go into my room and just start drawing. Yeah. And good.
No, so now I know your father was a singer, right?
He was.
So I mean, you have in one this I know your family well. So your whole family is uniquely artistically gifted. Many of them were went to Arts High as well.
You got it.
So as far as influences, was it to the time that you got into education that you started to where did you draw from to even kind of arrive at? I know you, Alex, to throw out a beautiful flower. I'm looking at this dude. We talk about DMX. We talk about crack. We talk about all kind of stuff. But Alex get the sketching, and it's this flower. He's like, oh man, here's a begonia. Listen,
they beautiful. They are.
It is fantastic. So what do you what were some of the influences that you felt like you really drew in and was like, oh man, this is.
I'm gonna tell you, I think my favorite guy, my favorite artist of all time is Leonardo Da Vinci.
Now, famous name. Why?
That's a good question. Because he wasn't just an artist; he was an engineer.
Yee.
So he could write with both hands. You know what I mean? So he was ambidextrous.
Yeah.
He would look at things in nature and break them apart systematically. And that would inform
symmetry,
everything. He made the Vitruvian Man. So when you look at, he would look at stuff to find out how it works.
Now I'm starting to understand you better, brother. I got you.
Right.
So that starts to come into your
exactly. So I'm not just looking at things for aesthetic value. That's just the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But also the functionality. How does this thing work?
Ooh, can y'all get that right there? Come on, man. These humans, they out here beautiful, but how does this work? You got to put the DNA together.
There's a blueprint. There's a blueprint.
There's a process.
There's a schema under there. It's like, I like it, but I don't know why I like it. I wanted to know, why do I like it? How does it work?
Ooh, that's a bar, my boy.
So when I saw how, some of Leonardo da Vinci's sketches and some of his mechanical contraptions and things like this, and looking at his artistry, I'm like, this is the guy, man. This dude he ain't just talking about it. He's that guy.
All right. I love it. I love it. I know this guy. This guy's all right. This guy's all right. So I know this guy. So I want to make some connective tissue here because obviously we're alluding to some of the major adversity that you endured through your childhood. I believe 6 siblings.
It's 8 of us.
8 of us, so 7 siblings.
Yep, 7.
Golly. Hey, listen, I got 7 kids. I want you to know, ooh.
Yeah.
And I did it the suburban way. Y'all was out here in these streets, in these mean streets.
We was out here in Newark, New Jersey, man.
With a lot of instability, and like I said, we all get the parents we get. We all, God determines our boundaries, our borders, our dwelling place. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that are out of our power. But for you, what was the most difficult thing? And I know the mental health is a whole nother monster because I think we know God had to bring you out.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a lot of, layers even to that. What was the most difficult thing that you endured? And, as I'm seeing art as a healing place, how did you really overcome it? And how did it cause you to become this budding flower, right? Because you arrived at places, when I look at your, some of the opportunities that were created through your skill set. What was the hardest thing that you endured, and how did you overcome that?
You know what? I think probably one of the hardest things was how transient we were growing up.
Okay.
We would move. I moved,
this is good. This will help This will really help people.
We moved like 13 different times. We would be living in a car. We would be living in battered women's shelters. We would be living in hotels with relatives here, there. So we moved around so much. It was hard to create a real relationship, deep relationship with people. So I had to find different things that were constant. I was, in a transient world.
Yeah.
What is constant?
Woo!
Hey,
I hope everybody catch that right there, because the world is changing so fast. I think that's what continues to create so much instability. That's a part of what is creating so much instability in our current generation, right?
100%.
Oh man, that's a good bar. So what became the thing for you to hold on?
When I was younger, it was art.
Yeah.
Because I could take my little notepad, I could rip a piece of notebook paper, and I could get down.
Boom.
But once I started to hit that age where I really wanted to know why.
Sure.
I started to ask why.
Okay.
Those deeper existential questions.
Existential.
Right. Who am I? What am I? Where am I? Why am I?
What's the story?
How am I?
Come on, brother. Come on.
I mean, honestly, even when am I? Like, what day is this? Seriously. It's true. It
is.
Because if we could give you the rote answer.
Sure.
Well, look at your calendar. But I started to really want to know.
Yeah.
So I tried to look within.
Sure.
Wasn't in there, nothing in there but darkness and pain. It was quiet and scary. Howling owls and bats.
The screech owl up in there.
I said, no, I'm not going. I don't want to go in there and close that back up.
Oh, God.
How people say, unpack that. No, pack that back up.
Pack that back up, man. That was ugly.
So we closed that door.
Okay.
And then I started to look up. I started to look up. I started to look out. What do people believe?
Yeah.
What's their driving factor?
Yeah.
What's their purpose? What is the purpose?
Yeah.
So I used to, I had a checkered past. I used to hang out with the brothers on the block.
Come on, bro. A little something.
So I tried to ask the street scholars.
The street scholars, yes, sir. PhD.
What do you believe? And, one guy is say, I believe in the pyramids of Giza and basically Kemet knowledge and hey, listen, okay.
Cool.
But as he was talking, I'm listening and I'm like, that ain't hitting it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I had another brother tell me about some other things, and I had one brother even say, yeah, I believe we gods. I'm God.
Oh, yeah.
And I would mess around with him. I'm the youngest dude on the block. I'm like, if you God, what did I eat for breakfast yesterday?
Give me some, because you got to know some things if you
God. Like, I'm going to give you an easy one. And he couldn't answer. So I'm like, so I started to see, like, wait a minute, y'all just older than me. Y'all ain't smarter than me. Y'all ain't.
That's a real revelation right there, when you start realizing that age ain't got nothing to do with wisdom or knowledge.
So I started really, I got into science, the science, I always was, again, an academic,
Sure.
I liked how things work. And science gave me a lot of hows, but it never gave me a why. It never told me why they work.
Mm-hmm. Cause and effect.
It was insufficient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, that won't do it.
Unsatisfied, completely unsatisfied.
I'm not building my life on it, right? I knew the road that I was on because I started drifting, not because I was a thugged out person, but because I was really looking for acceptance. I was looking to belong.
Ooh, you're getting somewhere.
I was looking for validation.
Believing and belonging.
So what I would do is, when we would move, I would find the guys who smelled like testosterone, the tough guy.
Come on now.
And I would try to prove myself to that crew.
Got you.
And that, as I started to getting older, that put me in tough predicaments.
Okay.
And I started really losing myself there. So then, somebody gave me a Bible. My little sister.
Your little sister?
Janetta.
Wow.
I don't even think she even remembers.
Wow.
She gave me a Bible.
And
it was an easy read. It was the New Living Translation.
Okay.
So I would be, inebriated.
Most folk can't even read, man. You gotta be, you can't be calling them the New Living, and folks, they can't. That's a spiritual book.
Sorry,
no, I'm just messing.
So, but I would read it, and let me tell you something. I started wondering about this figure Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. Because people had a very polarizing relationship with him.
Absolutely.
Some people
still
loved
to
him.
this day.
Some people hated him.
Yeah.
Some people called him a good teacher. Some people say he's God in the flesh.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let me read this for myself.
Okay.
Because the guys on the block don't know. My teachers don't really know. Like, my father definitely don't know. Like, I love it. Like,
big shot, Walt.
I'm like Tupac and them don't know.
Pac was my early theologian. Through Montclair, New Jersey, we had the Outlaws teed up.
Amazing. Like he was one gifted and passionate man.
He was.
But if you ride down his road, you're gonna end up like him. And I realized that I'm like, wait a minute. If I keep screaming thug life, somebody gonna treat me like a thug in this life. So I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that.
So how did you overcome? So you get into the Word of God, and obviously there's a place of encounter.
Right. So what happened was, I said, you know what? Let me read this for myself. I read Matthew. I read looking for trying to find something wrong with Jesus. Is he really authentic?
Yeah.
I read all of Matthew.
That's good. That's a good question.
I read all of Mark. I read all of Luke. I read all of John. I get to the end of the red letters. I can't find any fault in them. And in addition to that, as I'm reading what he's saying, when he would say certain things, I'm like, like I'm eating some good food, like you hear a bar in a good song.
Yeah.
And the way I explain this to people is like, I found the lyrics to the song I was humming all my life. Woo! It felt like that, like this. It's resounding. It's hitting. It's true. I don't know why I know, but I know that I know.
Tapping into your creative purpose.
Yeah, I never heard a man speak like this. And I'm like, what? Let's try to see what he did. He's healing people. He's helping people. He's blessing people.
Yeah.
He's doing all the right things, saying all the right things, dies for people who hates him, rises again, and the proclamation is he's coming back. So I'm thinking, okay, I like Jesus. I'm cool. I'm cool with him. I'm cool. I keep reading. See, the thing is, you got to get to the letters. Okay. Because once you get to the letters, Paul and them they're going to tell you, no, you're not good. I get to Romans, and it says, wait a minute. You are inexcusable, oh man, whoever you are who just judged. Yeah. Because the thing that you judge other people on, murder, adultery, you have done the same thing.
What a good old hypocrite mask that we all throw on.
Man.
So that's what stunned you. Was that the stunning ground? How old were you around this time?
About 16.
So man, you 16, 17 years old and you have an encounter with God.
I was 16, yes, sir.
How old were you when you got married?
Okay, so when I got married, let's do the math. I think I was about 21. I wasn't. I'm about it. Like,
listen,
let's get to it.
You don't even hear this no more, okay? Hey, listen.
Let's get to it.
So, I mean, you have a sincere encounter. Your life changes. Yeah. And I can only imagine, like I said, when you're, when I consider some of the chaos that you grew up in, it was one of these true rows in the concrete, but your family, just having a chance to talk about your family, I look at your entire family, one of the most beautiful families I've seen, to have endured it. I'm like, golly, man, you're talking about a true metaphor of the redemptive purposes of God through pain, through adversity, through instability. God can make things beautiful. Amen. So for you, now talk about, this, because that's young. That's young to be married. That's young to assume responsibility. Yeah. Like, they say the male brain ain't even fully settled till 25, 26. Yeah. So we don't even know what we're doing, but we're doing it.
You're doing it.
How are you navigating, and for you now as a Christian, how are you navigating these stages of your life? And like, you know, because now you got to fit in, you got to occupy these spaces and find your way in the world, but also feeling like, you know, you outside of the world. Mm-hmm. So as a young man, more peculiarly, right? Like, how was that finding your way in this world now, having this gaze for God?
Listen, man, I endured because I had to.
Okay. Let me tell you this. Let me ask you this. What did you do well in that next 10 years, and what didn't you do well?
I got away from bad influences.
Excellent.
I would say it like that.
Yeah.
You know, some of my old friends, you know, they were still engaged in things that were terrible, detrimental to your longevity, your prosperity.
So that's a principle. At the end of the day, you know, like most people like to say, you know, you're the sum total of the 5 closest friends that you have around you, in relation to, like, you know, you're only going to be around people that you want to be like, or that you are already like. I mean, like humans, we're pretty simple in that way. Yeah. So you begin to shift environment. Yeah. What did you do? What were some of the limitations that you had as a young man, even though you were zealous, well-meaning, but now you're responsible for a wife and eventually a family? What were some of the, like, oh my gosh, I was a freaking idiot, had no clue?
Well, the lack of bread, you know.
Lack of quan.
Exactly.
As like, my brother Tidwell would say.
Exactly.
The quan.
So if you know anything about Newark, New Jersey, my first apartment was on Stratford and Avon.
Ooh, so okay, you said it was Avon.
That's the heart of the Central Ward. That's the heart of Newark.
Go back and watch some old Queen Latifah videos. I'm sure she got an Avon.
Exactly. So, you know, I ended up getting married there. You know, even the way I got the apartment, it was a subsidized housing situation.
Got you.
I wasn't making much as a young man, you know, but I was single. I was on my own. I was saved. And I brought my brand new wife, into that experience. Yeah. And if you know anything about my wife, she wasn't having that for about a day. You laughing because you know. So she said, "What did you bring me into?"
You brought me to a war zone.
I'm like, "It's all right, you know, like,
I mean, we good here. It's just a rat over. It's just
be quiet, you know, get a feed some noodles every now and then, you know, and mind your business.
Give me some of the ramens. Keep it stepping.
But you know, I think if I would have had better guidance, better discipleship,
there you go,
mentorship, if you want to call it, I would have waited a little bit.
Sure.
I would have let my wife get more established.
Yeah.
I would have got my legs under me in Christ and in the world as a young man. I would let my wife, you know, grow a little bit more. Yeah. And then we would have pursued marriage.
Now, when I'm considering this merge of your world and experience, what kind of insight or advice would you give emerging young men, like when you consider arts, the creatives of the day? Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's so many opportunities, and you about to burst through and burst forth in these coming years, just really maximizing some of your artistic and professional experiences. But you know, when you think about a little bit of a roadmap in light of all these existing opportunities, what are some of the advice that you would give to some young emerging creatives, to kind of, like, you know, that they're not just caught off on social media doing randomness and casting great ideas, but to bring them to some measure of sobriety? What are some of the 2 or 3 things that you would give them as guiding lights, because you were in education and a guiding force of influence for so many students through the years?
Absolutely. I would say you need a game plan. You need to, especially as a creative, you need some type of train tracks.
Okay, excellent.
So you want to think, it's called backwards planning, right? Mm-hmm. And we do this in education all the time, understanding by design, backwards planning. You start a process with the end goal in your mind.
Begin with the end in mind.
That's exactly it. So for the young man or the young woman, I would say try as best you can to envision yourself 25 years from now. Where do you want to end up? You know, what is it that you want to do? You might say, I want to have my own art gala. You might want to say, I want to be an art professor, or something along those lines, right? And then you work steady and consistently to get there. Just know it's going to be detours. Just know you're in an ever-changing world. Nice. But that doesn't change the fact that, you know, you kind of stay walking to the beat of the drum.
Yeah.
And you'll get there.
That's excellent. It's a big part of our, even some of our coaching construct, even in relation, because even though I have found success, I hit the lottery ticket, the 1% lottery ticket as an athlete. I didn't have a full-blown vision for my life. Right. So here I am at 30 years old. It's a very unique transition when you're 30 years old and you're falling off a cliff of fulfillment, right? Meaning because I literally eclipsed my dream at 30 years old. Like I've done it, but I still have all my life to continue to live. Yeah. And not having a plan for that post, quote unquote, I call it an experience more than I call it a career, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's so powerful when you can get this kind of insight and information for a young person, because even if your dream is to be an actor, right? There's going to be so many different things that have to be done in between. Like the story of Morgan Freeman is well told, that he doesn't get a breakthrough until he's like 45, right? Like, golly, I mean, what are you doing in between that? Yeah. Right. And I think that process of reverse engineering allows you to paint, feed the dream and paint the reality. That's whereas we can have some sobriety in the pursuit of dreams, in the pursuit of excellence, in the pursuit of virtue. For a man, if you don't work, you don't eat. So once you get a family, how do you take care of that family? These are all powerful things that people like Alex, myself, tap into that DT3 ecosystem, get you that true transparency and transformation, right? I'm signed up. This is my guy. Well, listen, man, give the audience just, like I said, we're gonna have you back, and we're gonna get into a little bit more detail in relation to, this is one of the crown jewels of my life love walk, Alexzander. But this dude right here, he's a beast. He's a beast. Because God has appointed him. Amen. But tell people where they can at least find the book and where they can continue to as you continue to unfold your journey post exodus of a mental health crisis. Right. 3 years in what we call Sheol. 3 years in the pit of having your lamp put out, and God supernaturally delivers you because of He loves you, because He's willing to. Because and I'm telling you, you're still stewarding your mental health as well as social, emotional, right? All that stuff. Absolutely. It's still a process of being healed. Humans are dynamic. Right. So tell us where people can find more ways to support your journey and get on board as you continue to lay these things out.
Absolutely. So first of all, if you wanted to grab that book, The Kingdom That Was and Is to Come, How the Gospel of the Kingdom Changes Everything, you could go on Amazon, Google it just like that. And you could pick up a copy. It's I like it.
It's dynamic.
So that's one thing that you can do. But also, I would say you can follow me on socials. Pretty simple. On Instagram and Facebook, Alexzander Billups. If I see an influx of people wanting to follow, I'll just go ahead and accept you indiscriminately, unless you give me a reason to discriminate.
Show my boy some love, man.
So because we do have a lot of great things coming up in the art space.
Yes,
they're cooking now, but I'm really looking to launch out in a creative space, and just move and shake with some artists and art enthusiasts. You do not have to be an artist. You could just be somebody who say, hey man, I like creative experiences. I want to learn something new. I want to do something new. And you can find me. And
I'm gonna help him get him some more his amazing talents out in the marketplace, because this is life, this is love, this is liberty, and we want y'all to continue to enter into that liberty. So hopefully this story gives you motivation, insight, impact for, number one, how you can be well and do well. And that's what this whole thing is about with Catch the Moment podcast. We want to get you to your next space of success, safety, and welfare. And so we appreciate you, Alex, for coming through, dropping these gems, dropping these bars. It's love forever. Absolutely. But until the next episode, man, we'll see you then. We'll continue to get great done.
See y'all later.